That's what I love, Lyman. Thank you. Nothing better than going live and then having that happen, right? So since we were muted, I'll start over. Welcome to Me Plus Ultra Network, everybody. This is our live stream. I'm your host, Scott Joseph. Today, we've got an exciting, transformative episode for you. I think most business owners, leaders, sales managers, salespeople, anybody responsible for driving business, right, understand the importance of getting referrals and the value they bring. But executing on it and having really multiple streams of referrals coming in to where it's just a constant flow, a real money-making machine, so to speak, for you, executing on that's a different story. So if you've ever struggled unlocking the power of referrals, wondered how to make it, set up the right process or make it more efficient and effective, today you're going to learn how. And got an expert with us, Lyamen Savy. I know a lot of people in my network are familiar with you. Clearly yours are, but you're an entrepreneur. You're also the founder of Blabber. It's a groundbreaking referral marketing platform that is designed to revolutionize how businesses generate and manage referral operations. She's going to share with us her proven strategies, insights, actionable tips that are going to help you supercharge your referral marketing. So why should you stay tuned? Why should you make sure you stay on here the entire time we're on here? Because by the end of this episode, all right, you're going to understand the importance of referrals, how to overcome the challenges of generating them, and why businesses that prioritize referrals see exponential growth. So let's jump right in. Lyamen, welcome to Me Plus Ultra Network.
Thanks, Scott. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Man, I love it. You and I go back a few years now. It's always a pleasure talking with you. You're very knowledgeable. As a member of Me Plus Ultra, you always bring great insights to the group when we do our hot seats and do our virtual masterminds, as well as when we do things in live, do the live events with Business Bourbon and Cigars. So it's great to spread this out beyond the membership and share your knowledge and expertise. Talk to me a little bit about your journey. What led you to create Blabber? And let's just give me the milestones. I learned this along the way, and here we are.
Yeah, my journey actually starts 25 years ago, almost, when I first got into marketing. My very first job in marketing was actually, back then it was called Health Values. It was a startup company. Later on, it actually became publicly traded in NASDAQ, and then it got acquired later on by, I forgot, was it Trulia, but now it's actually owned by Zillow, and everybody knows who Zillow is. And so I was actually there. That's where I started my first marketing job. I was a marketing coordinator, and then I quickly, kept getting promotions, and I became an expert at lead generation. And of course, when you're generating leads, it's all about bottom line. How many of those leads converted to a sale? What was the revenue? What was the profit? And ultimately, what's the average revenue, per sale, per lead, and things like that. And so, of course, referral marketing is, there's nothing better than that. There's nothing that has highest lead to sale conversion rate. Nothing has higher average profit per customer. Nothing has lowest cost per acquisition. I mean, referrals is just, nothing has even fastest lead to sale conversion cycle. What's the sales cycle? How long does it take to convert a sale? And so referrals just have so much. It basically beats every other marketing channel by every metric you could think of. Just as an example, like when I used to work at Capital One, and I was actually in charge of referral marketing there as well. When we would compare our customer acquisition referrals versus Google ads, Bing ads, display advertising, social media, you name it. I mean, the ROI was like 6 times or almost 8 times. Like, it was just phenomenal. And so, but the key thing is always, everybody, of course, loves referrals, but how do you do it at scale? That's always, been the challenge. And a lot of the companies I work with, they've been online companies, where the sales happens online. Customer, searches the product and go signs up online. But a lot of companies that I also work that I actually have a sales engage model where you basically generate lead and you pass it to a salesperson. How do you convert those sales? And so, so to answer your question, my journey started early on, but I've throughout 20 years, I learned a lot about referral marketing and partner marketing.
Where do you think, as I said in our intro, I feel like everybody understands the importance of it, right? And they understand the value, but like you brought up an interesting part. The biggest challenge is scaling it. So where do you think most people fail? Why, like what causes it? Why is that such a challenge?
The biggest mistakes companies make is actually about three of them. So one is not having a formalized referral program. I see it all the time. If you ask any business owner, do you guys, get referrals? Do you have a referral program? They'll go, yeah, we get referrals. But if you ask them, like, okay, where can I go learn more information? They don't have nothing. It's just in their head.
Yeah.
And that's a mistake number one. In order to scale a referral program, the key is tracking and measuring. And so if you don't have an actual process in place and, terms and conditions and things like that, you're not going to, sure, you're going to get one or two referrals, from a customer by accident, but how often does that actually happen? So not actually having a formalized program. And also the benefit of having a formalized program, like there's research that shows over 80% of customers are willing to refer a product, a company, or service or business, but only 28% of them do because they're not being prompted to. And so if you don't have an official formalized referral program, oftentimes that means companies are actually not sending out email messages to customers after they just purchased something or did business with you saying, hey, refer a client to us. So if you don't prompt somebody, they're very less likely to do it, even though they love the service and they would do it if you actually prompt them to do it. And of course, also not having a formalized program, that means salespeople are usually very uncomfortable asking for referrals. And so you can't rely on just salespeople. You have to have marketing in place to promote the referral program. And most importantly, also, this is now my second company, and I've worked also at Microsoft. Microsoft is huge on partner channel and referrals and things like that. And one thing that and actually a lot of companies reach out to me, ask me, to partner with them and things like that. And one thing I've noticed is that if you don't have a formalized referral program, people just have conversations, there's meetings happening, but nothing actually ever happens because there's nothing that says, hey, sign here, sign up here, do this next. It's like, imagine if you're trying to sell a product and you're having conversation, but you're not telling customer how to go and actually buy the product. You're not going to sell the product. So you have to have a formalized program in order for people to know how to refer business to you on a consistent basis. So that's mistake number one. Mistake number two is operations. Nothing ruins trust with the referral partner than them not getting paid when they expected to get paid for something. That's, once you ruin the trust with the referral partner, that's it. There's nothing else. And what happens is if you don't have a formalized referral program, which means, again, you don't have operations in place, and not having operations in place, that means you're expecting your salesperson to be doing the operations. And so imagine if you actually have a really good sales closer and them wasting time instead of closing business or nurturing relationship with the customer, they're doing operations, processing payments and things like that. And so that's, the next big mistake is not having proper operations to actually to support and scale the referral business, making sure the partners are getting paid on time, making sure the referral partners know the status of their referrals and when they're going to get paid and things like that. So operations is critical. And the last most important mistake that I see companies make with referral marketing is offers. So many times I see companies are, giving kind of a lowball offers for referral partners. But why would you? Here's the way I think about it. If you're going to be spending money on advertising, let's say, for example, if you're a car dealership, and let's say, for example, you're a Ford dealership, you're probably going to be running Google ads or Facebook ads. Let's say you're doing Google ads, which is going to be more cost effective than Facebook ads. But even with Google ads, if you're bidding, let's say, for example, on keywords like Ford F-150 for sale, you're going to be paying $4 on a cost per click just to get somebody to click and go to your site. Or, used cars for sale near me, let's say $3 cost per click. And again, clicks doesn't mean somebody's going to actually become, a sale. But with paid media, there's no trust. People don't trust advertising. Advertising is great to increase awareness of the product, but it's not a way to actually build trust. But trust is the number one factor in getting sales and getting, customers to spend more money with you. There's actually a direct correlation. The higher the trust, the more somebody's going to spend with you, the faster the sales is going to close. Because if they trust you, they don't have to do as much research. They're going to spend more money with you. And so, not paying your referral partners enough, where it'll be, make sure that your company stays at top of mind every time they know somebody needs your product or service, or, whether it's a B2B company, consulting, or software company, or, selling cars, whatever it might be. It's like, there's a saying, make your referral partners incredibly rich. Don't count other people's money. If you're willing to spend, let's say $800 to acquire customers on Facebook, spend that amount on, paying your referral partners, because your referral partners are people who know you, and they're going to be your best ambassadors. Zuckerberg doesn't know you. He's not going to be your best ambassador. So their big mistake is not paying partners enough to make it, for them to remember that you have a referral program.
Why do you think they don't offer enough?
I don't know. It's greed, which, I always say in referral marketing, generosity is not just kind, it's actually strategic. If a well-paid partner is the best ally tomorrow. And imagine if you have, 1,000 referral partners, or even 500 referral partners. That means there's 500 people every day waking up who are having conversations with people you want to do business with, and they keep talking about your business, your company. Like with my last company, 321 Ignition, 40% of our sales came from referrals. 40%. And we grew so fast because of the referrals. And I was always very generous. And even if, sometimes the terms and conditions were met, I'll be like, it's okay, let me pay you, because I would rather pay the referral partner, because I knew that next time, let's say a car dealership with GM was having, conversation about websites, or even like on Facebook, I would often see on Facebook people posting saying, hey, I'm dissatisfied with my website provider, who you recommend? And people be popping up and saying 321, 321, 321 Ignition. And so generosity is strategy in referral marketing. But for some reason, like I see car dealerships doing offers like for $100, for a customer, you get $100. Who cares about $100? If you're paying $800, $1,000 to acquire a customer from Facebook ads, why wouldn't you pay that to your referral partner?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because some of these dealers think they actually pay $300 and $400 to acquire a customer, and so I think it goes right at the heart of. I don't think it's greed. I think it's a lack of accurate data. So, right, because I think they don't know. They probably don't know what their actual lifetime value of a client is, because if they knew that it was worth, lifetime value 5,000, or just, initial thing, it's going to be worth this, then they're going to pay more. But if you ask 10 car dealers, what's your average cost of acquisition of a new client, you'll get numbers that range anywhere from $250 to $1,000. And it's not that the range is different because of the dealer. It's different because they all put in different numbers into how they determine the cost. So none of them put the same amount of, none of them put the same things into that actual, how they get to that total.
Well, you bring up a good point. The one thing I noticed with dealerships, what they do is they count organic leads with paid media leads. And so they actually don't really know what their true cost to acquire a customer through paid media versus the blended, we generate this many leads, but what percent of those leads actually came from paid media versus organic channels? So
yeah, 100%. And I also I love what you brought up with operations too, because I'm just picturing any business just winging it, right? Just, hey, who did we have? Oh, that was a referral. All right, what do we owe them? And I could just see this. And by the way, that conversation's probably happened a couple weeks late, and nothing's automated. Nothing's just processed out. But the first one you brought up, I think they're all important. But man, the first one, not having that formalized program or processes, right, usually leads to one source of referrals. And it's usually like they have in meetings, make sure they tell their salespeople, make sure you guys ask for referrals. And then to your point, a lot of the salespeople aren't always comfortable doing that, and a lot of salespeople don't understand their own process or what that process might be within the company. And when we don't understand what a process is, we're even more or less comfortable following it, right? And if the offers aren't good, they're even less comfortable. So all this ties together with what you were saying. Um, Gosh, and that means they're just winging it, and it's half-assed. It's
Well, what's interesting is that, not having a formalized referral program, which means also you're not testing what works, what doesn't. And it's interesting to me because if we run Facebook ads, let's say, for example, we're testing, we're doing A/B split testing, targeting, messaging, creative, all these variables. But if you don't have a formalized referral program where you can actually track what offer generated, how many leads, how many of those leads converted to a sale, what was the sales cycle time, what was the average profit, or all those metrics, then how do you actually know what works, what doesn't? And so, and you and I both are marketers, we know this, like, every time you launch something brand new, just because it's not working out as good as you expected, it doesn't mean that channel is not going to work. It just means you have to test, you have to learn. And so if you don't actually have a formalized program, but more just somebody, your brother, your sister refer to clients to you because they're your brother, your sister, and they're loyal to you, you really actually don't know how to scale a referral program. And so, having the right tracking, which again goes back to having a formalized program in place where you can actually, test multiple offers. And you could say, this type of offer is going to be for this type of referral partner. This type of offer is going to be for a different referral partner. Like, for example, the right way to do it would be is like you would have one type of offer for customers, another type of offer for partners or allies, industry influencers, content creators, whoever, and maybe even another referral offer for your employees. Like, for example, at a car dealership, let's say dealership has 100 employees. Out of those 100 employees, Scott, you have a dealership. How many would you say would be in sales versus like service, mechanics, billing, whatever? How many would you say?
So not even, well, if you take off all the teams, 15%,
Yeah.
20%.
Exactly. So think of it this way: you have 100 employees. Each of those employees has mother, father, brother, sister, friends, coworkers, whatever. But only 15 out of those 100 people are actually in sales closing. But if you actually had a referral offer for your employees, like, why not? But how do you actually do different offers for employees versus partners versus customers unless you have a way to track and measure all of it? Again, goes back to having a formalized referral program.
Yeah, let's talk, because you're bringing up some good things, right? Because I think a lot of people, the traditional thing is, let's make sure we ask or train our salespeople to ask for referrals. That's one stream of referral leads. So you just brought up a second one. Why aren't we doing this and having a formalized process for our employees? How about our suppliers, right? Our vendors. What are some of the other, list a bunch of different avenues that would work?
So one of the things that I think not a lot of people have thought of this, and this goes back to my experience working at Microsoft. When you work at a company like Microsoft, everybody wants to partner with you because, just having the name logo of Microsoft is just builds so much credibility and trust. But there's so many small companies that don't have that kind of a, branding like Microsoft does, or, Amazon or Google or whoever. And, like, for example, let's take automotive. In automotive, there's so many vendors, right? The B2B vendors that sell to car dealerships. And they might be selling different products. Some might be selling marketing. Some might be, outsourced BDC. Some might be websites or oil, whatever. There's so many different products that they're selling to car dealerships. Well, a lot of times what I see happens is one of the companies who sells to dealerships reaches out to another company, to the business owner, says, hey, like, for example, let's say 321 reaches out to you and says, hey, Scott, refer me to your clients. You'd be like, yeah, but there's so many people are coming at you, right? But here's the key thing. You're actually probably not the one who actually has conversations on a daily basis with the dealers, right? Guess who does? Account managers, salespeople. So one of the things people don't think about is, how do you actually build partnership programs, not with the B2B, but how do you build programs with people who work at those companies, who talk to your target audience, and who could make a warm introduction, as long as, of course, you're not selling the competing products. So, like, for example, let's say if I'm selling, my Blabber product, I would, instead of coming to you, I would actually reach out to one of your salespeople on LinkedIn and tell them, hey, would you want to be a referral partner? Next time you're having a conversation with the dealer owner, make an introduction, you're on commission.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you get my private message?
Yes.
I think I was echoing a little bit. All right, when I was talking. All right, so let me ask you this question. That's a great idea. Let me ask you this. So what inspires you to create the first mobile referral platform out there? And I've seen it. It's outstanding.
Thank you.
I know you put a lot of time into this, and it's literally, you've thought of things that, thank you for calling me a marketer. And I take a lot of pride in really pushing referral stuff, but you've just found a way to systemize it, and it's almost like you've thought of everything. And so I love it. And so what inspired you to create this?
Well, like I said, a lot of the companies I work with, they had online sales where it started. Actually, one of the case studies was when I worked at Capital One. My job at Capital One was customer acquisition, because that's what every company who ever hires me is because they want to acquire more customers. And of course, the goal is, how do we not just acquire customers, but there's always, maximum cost per acquisition, and here's how much profit we need to be generating from each customer. And so I'm a total data nerd. And one thing that, I've learned throughout my career is friction is the enemy to sales. You have to eliminate friction to everything. And when you're a company like Capital One, it's easy to do referral programs, because referral programs in that case means somebody shares a trackable link or a promo code. So let's say, for example, let's say you're Uber, or actually, let's say, use example Tesla. Tesla is actually my favorite case study. So Tesla, everybody knows they don't spend any money on advertising, but yet I think they have 44% market share of electrical vehicles. How the hell did they do that? It's all about referral marketing. They've had one of the most powerful referral marketing programs since 2015. And they always constantly refresh it, and they do different offers and things like that. But almost all of their sales comes through word of mouth. People loving Teslas and telling all their friends and family members. But with Tesla, because it is online sales, people can actually go buy the Tesla online without speaking to a salesperson. So the way the Tesla referral program works is, you bought a car, you bought a Tesla, you download their mobile app, and then in the mobile app, you sync your phone contact list. And once you sync your phone contact list, now all you have to do is tap on a contact, and it opens up your native text messaging app, and it pre-populates the message with a promo code and a link for your friend, family member, whoever, to buy the Tesla car. And so, of course, with Tesla, it's easy because you can actually, you click on a link and you know who referred and who to give credit to. And so going back to my experience working at Capital One, so when I was working at Capital One, my job was how do we acquire customers for Share Builder product, which is a brokerage product. When I started, and that was, I think I was 25, so, technology was very different. I'm 43 now, and I don't care, everyone knows my age. But anyway, so when I worked at Capital One, technology was very different. I'm not even sure smartphones were around. I think smartphones were around, but they weren't as, big deal as it is now. And so anyways, when I first, came there, their referral marketing was basically lead forms. So if you want to refer somebody, you type in your friend's email address, and their platform will send an email to a friend saying, click on the link, open a brokerage account, and you'll get, $200 credit, whatever. And we were getting, I think about 1% of our customers would refer us, but those referral leads were the best quality leads. Like I said, the highest conversion rate, highest lifetime value, all those metrics. But the goal is, how do we increase, get more of them? So of course we could be doing more marketing, and we did. That was my job, is how do I promote the program? But the one thing that made the most difference, and my mind was blown, was back then and this was brand new technology back then, we replaced the lead forms with, instead of lead forms, it allows you to actually import your email address book. It allows you to import your Gmail, your Hotmail, your AOL account. And so now, instead of a person having to type in each friend at a time, email address to send a referral, all they have to do is import their contact list, click in the front and it would send the introduction. And guess what happened when we did that? So basically all we did is we eliminated the friction. We didn't change the offer. We didn't change our marketing. The only thing we did is we eliminated friction. The results were basically, instead of only getting 1% of customers referring somebody to us, it got to like 5% or 6%. And the best part is, out of those, so first of all, that's 5 times, 500%, 400% increase in percent of people actually referring. But second thing that made a big difference was without this new approach before, we were getting maybe 1 to 2 referrals per customer. So it was like 1.3. So some customers refer 1 person, some customers refer 2. When we replaced it with import your contact list from Gmail, Hotmail, AOL, whatever, our average number of referrals per referrer went up to 5 to 6 referrals. So can you imagine, not only do we get 400% increase in people participating, but we got a 500% increase in the volume of referrals per referrer. So, I mean, the results were just so phenomenal. It was like mind-blowing. And so taking this approach, how we came up with the Blabber concept is, when I had my 320 Ignition company, like I said, 40% of our sales came from referrals. And so, but number one thing that, like, let's say, for example, Scott, if I was talking to you, like, yeah, Lyman, I'll introduce you to so-and-so. But, usually people who want to refer business to you, they're not your product experts. They usually don't know what to say. And so a lot of times I would have, my referral partners to tell me, Lyman, can you send me an email and I'll just forward it on to whoever you want me to forward it on to. And so, but that was a friction. That would slow them down. That means now I have to stop what I'm doing, send them an email, blah, blah, blah. So, and again, they would just be sending 1 or 2 referrals versus how do I get 5 to 10 referrals from each, person that I know. And so the idea with the Blabber was basically, okay, let's do what Tesla did. Let's create a mobile app where a person can actually sync their contact list. So now, instead of filling out a form or, them sitting there manually trying to send 1 referral to emails, or text messages at a time, now they sync their phone contact list to their app. So now they have on their app people's phone numbers and email, whatever they have saved on their phone. And the other part is the brands, the companies can actually, in the Blabber system, rewrite the introduction message. So the person doesn't have to think about what to say. So all they have to do is basically click on the contact, and it pre-populates the introduction message, pre-populates the salesperson's contact information and their friend's contact information, and all they have to do is click send, and that's it. And so basically the idea came about, it's like, okay, how do I eliminate friction? Everything that was stopping people from referring clients to me in my last company, I'm going to eliminate all that using the Tesla mobile app concept. And that's how Blabber was born, basically.
You know what I love is, you know how many people have good ideas and are like, man, somebody should invent this, right? And so you've got this idea that comes from all this experience and knowledge and data, and you're like, I'm going to solve a problem, and you just went out and did it. So, like, what was involved in it? I don't want to spend a lot of time on this part, but like, what was involved in getting this across the finish line?
Oh my God, Scott, this has been the hardest software I have ever built in my entire life. One, I actually did it with almost bootstrapping it. I have 2 investors, but very small investors, so I didn't want to raise too much capital. And then, of course, when you're not raising too much capital, your resources are limited. But the great thing that happens, with bootstrapping, almost bootstrapping a company, is that you become extra resourceful. You become extra, conscious about everything. And so, believe it or not, I actually learned how to use Figma. Figma is a prototyping tool to prototype the software myself, because I had a vision and it would have been too expensive and too time consuming for me to.
What is this called? What is this called again?
Figma.
Figma.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll type it here, Figma. It's a UX UI prototype software that professional software designers use to design what the user experience will look like. Because when you're designing and building a software, most people think about, oh, I'm going to go hire developers. That's actually mistake number 1, because developers are order takers. They're not the ones who are actually they're not the business people. They're not the product people. And so normally in a software company, you have a product person, like the one who has an idea, working with a designer to actually prototype what the user experience is going to be. And then they work with a developer to scope the work, size, the estimate, how long it's going to take to build the features, capabilities, and things like that. But if you don't have screens to actually show, you could talk to a developer about the concept, but you're usually going to be off in terms of how long it's going to take to build. And the user experience is everything, because if user experience is not intuitive, frictionless, and developers, they're almost like blind when it comes to user experience. Like they don't see the colors, they don't see like nothing. So like, so it's building software. It has to start with UX UI.
If I've got if I need an explainer video or something to show me how to use it, I'm done. I'm not wasting my time with it. So you're right. I think it's got to be like when I pick up my iPhone, no one taught me how to use it. It was just so self-explanatory basically on every feature other than some of those hidden tips. And I've seen what you did there. It's like you wouldn't need any training. I mean, it's just like you just open it up and go.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I kept thinking to myself as I was designing it. It's like, okay, it has to be like an iPhone. When when iPhones were first invented, iPhone did not have a how-to guide. People just
Exactly.
intuitively knew how to use it. And so I actually taught myself how to use Figma to prototype the software myself, every screen, every copy, every message. And again, like because my background is sales and marketing, I know how to communicate complex concepts in a words that anybody could understand. And so I prototyped the whole thing myself, basically.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, so I know you put like some gamification into it as well. I always thought I would never be the type of person that would pay attention to that type of stuff, but I have to tell you, every time I get off my Peloton, right,
Uh-huh.
I go right to that part of the screen and see where I'm at on my like streaks and awards I've won and this and that. And I don't view myself as that type of person, but I still pay attention to it. So talk us through that a little bit.
Well, it's funny that you say you don't view yourself that way, because the gamification, it goes psychology with competitiveness, and I
Mm.
think we're all competitive. I mean, like, yes, sure, there's some
Yeah.
people who are more competitive than others, but everybody has a little bit of competitiveness in them. They always want to compare themselves. Like even as I was listening to a podcast, I can't remember, I think it was about partner channel ecosystem, and they were talking about how every business always wants to. The first question always comes to mind: how does my business compare to so and so? And so the gamifications, the leaderboards, and all these stuff is like it's what drives us, is what motivates us. But the key thing is also transparency, which goes back again to having a formalized program and operations, is transparency. And so the gamification part is also, there's are you familiar with Duolingo mobile app? It's a learning how to speak different languages. The
Nope.
little green bird Duolingo. You haven't heard of this
I expect all people in foreign countries to learn my language. I don't.
stuff? Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like when I travel, I don't even try to learn a new language. I'm like, what's the point? They all know English,
Yeah.
which is so horrible. And by
Right.
the way, I'm from Azerbaijan, so I'm a foreigner, so I should be embarrassed of even saying this, but whatever. So, anyways, Duolingo is actually a very, very famous app. Like, with the whole TikTok shutdown and everything, the
Yep.
Duolingo actually had a campaign, which was pretty phenomenal, where there's you heard about the TikTok shutdown, right?
Yeah.
The,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So apparently, a lot of users from TikTok went to some Chinese app competitor of TikTok that is 100% in Mandarin language. So the Duolingo app actually did a campaign where they're saying, instead of not having access to TikTok, we're going to go and learn Mandarin and use this app. Anyways, so the Duolingo is actually very, very famous, one of the most successful learning language mobile apps. And the guy who actually invented, I'm not sure if he's a scientist or a psychologist, but he does a lot of that stuff. And so he actually did a TED Talk video, and he talks about how do you make learning a new language as addicting as social media. And
Yeah.
he says gamification. He's like, we're wasting time scrolling on social media and Facebook feeds all day long and TikTok videos, whatever. Well, how do you make referring it as addicting as scrolling on social media? And so basically, I add a bunch of gamification, to bring out the competitiveness and feel like achievements. So just like what you said about Peloton bike, Blabber actually has that in there. So like as you're
Yeah.
referring people, and it has little badges, and it says refer your first person, unlock this badge, and you earn, let's say, I don't know, $10 bonus, whatever. And the companies can customize whatever bonuses, rewards they want. But the key with gamification is you want the person referring feel instant reward. And so, like, imagine if you could do make an introduction to your first person, regardless of that introduction, you convert to a sale, because that's going to take some time to convert to a sale. Give them instant gratification when they earn $10. Like, oh my God. And I would rather give a referral partner $10 versus paying Google Ads $5 for cost per click. And by the way, the $5 cost per click is just for 4 F-150 keywords. Some keywords, like insurance keywords or whatever, they're like $50 cost per click. So I would rather use the gamification to get people to experience the instant, gratification. They're earning something and feeling like they're achieving, and extra income for anybody. So like, going back to reaching out to salespeople who already sell to your target audience, it's like, hey Scott, you already sell to car dealerships. My product is not competing with your company. Double your income. Just make introductions. You don't need to become an expert on my product. Just make introductions and you're on extra income. So
well, you've sat in some of our business bourbon cigar events and participate in those mastermind sessions. How often do you hear one of the challenges that we have to work through? Man, I have a hard time getting my people to do that. Meaning, and it could be on anything, right? It's pretty consistent. And so as good as referral programs are, and I think, like I said at the beginning, I think everybody understands the value in them, but doing it and having a formalized process and good operations and good offers, and let's say now you all have that, it still doesn't mean that all these salespeople are just going to do it for the sake of doing it. And so, wow, you've got something built into it to help drive that competitiveness, to help motivate and inspire these people to keep going and not just give up initially or get a few deals and it works well for them, but they just kind of forget about it, right? It keeps driving that. So I love that.
Well, it's funny actually, so Scott, you bring up another interesting point. So there's gamification to two parts. One is the referrer. How do you get referrers to keep referring and gamifying that experience? But the other part is sales adoption. And so with the Blabber system is actually, again, if you don't have a formalized program, there's no way to track referrals, sales, how many people, how many referrers each salesperson recruited. Because the key to growing a referral program, it's recruit, activate, and scale. So recruit means how many people actually signed up to become your referral partner. So that's a step one. But then just because somebody signed up to become a referral partner doesn't mean they actually started referring. So the next step is activate. And then activate means did they refer at least one person? And then the third step is how do you get them to scale? Basically, how do you get them to refer 5 to 10 people and more? At that point, they scale. So it wasn't just like a fluke they referred 1 or 2 people, but how do you get them to scale? And so having a formalized referral program where you can actually have data to say this salesperson recruited this number of people to become referrers, and then not only how many people they recruit, but how many did they activate, how many did they scale, and what percent of their sales comes through referrals versus through paid media. Because as a business, I want to know if my salesperson is waiting for me to generate leads, which means I'm spending more money on advertising, or are they actually, empowering themselves to build their own pipeline? And, like in the car dealership world, if you sell 30 cars, you're a top producer. Well, how do you sell 30, 50 cars? Referrals. You can't count on your dealership to give you that many leads. It's just not possible. So if you have a formalized sales program that actually gives you the right operations and tracking and everything else, a salesperson starts to farm like a real estate agent. They're farming their own, building their own book of business. They're acting like an independent business owner.
As I listen to you, I don't want it to be missed, so I'm going to bring it up. And you alluded to it very early. You talked about, the formalized program, the organization or the operations and the offers and this and that. But what you keep the common thread that's gone through this, and it's even part of why, gave you your motivation to create this whole thing. You're all over the data. I mean, when you were saying that early on, like, oh, wow, I was studying the data and this, and we had 1% doing this, and you're throwing out your numbers. And because of those numbers, look what it's done for you in terms of inspiring you to create this and really push it. You're passionate about it. And so imagine if every business owner, right, they don't have the data. right?
Yeah.
Most of these businesses, I don't care how sophisticated they are not tracking this because most of them don't have formalized programs anyways. And so if you don't have a formalized program, you're not tracking, wow, how many people came in from referrals? How much did we pay out? How, who's our best referee? All this type of stuff. Your program makes it easy for all that.
Yeah, no, Scott, what's funny is, as I was, struggling with how do I scale referrals more for 321 Ignition, I also saw a very funny video on Instagram. And I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I had a light bulb go off in my head. There's trainers in the automotive industry. I'm not going to name names, because they're actually going to be our referral partners. But I'm sure, Scott, you know who they are. They train dealerships on how to get more referrals. And so what's funny is what they do is they'll go to dealerships and when a salesperson sold the car, they'll train a salesperson to give a customer a piece of paper and say, write down your friend's contact info. Like, who do you want to refer? Write down their contact information. Right. So then when I ask dealerships, those dealerships who went through that training, I'm like, okay, so great, you have a bunch of names on a piece of paper. Who puts it in the CRM? They're like, well, nobody. Those people hate entering data in the CRM. And there's actually a very funny video on YouTube where one guy, he just went through this training and he sells people, we have a bunch of those pieces of paper. He's like, look at this, we have 1,000 pieces of paper, people's contact information. I'm like, so all you have is phone numbers. I'm like, wow. How do you know what's working? How do you know what percent of them converted? How are you going to pay those referrers? And if you're not going to pay those referrers, guess what? They're not going to refer again. And that's the word's going to spread, it's going to be negative reputation, blah, blah, blah. And so to your point about tracking is, the challenge a lot of companies who don't have online sales like Tesla or Capital One is there wasn't, so Blabber, there was no way for them to actually track those referrals, because it's, text message introductions. So with Blabber, we actually figured out how to track those text message introductions, email introductions that are not, based on a tracking link or a promo code, and put them in your CRM. So that way we can actually automate the sales tracking, revenue, profits, all those metrics that are important. So you're not relying on a salesperson to enter it, because salespeople are not going to be entering data in the CRM. One, and two, you don't want salespeople to be sitting there wasting time entering data in the CRM. You want them to be closing. And so tracking is the most important thing with.
They don't want to be in the CRM either.
Exactly. But as a business owner, you need to be able to have data in the CRM. Otherwise, you can't track anything.
Right.
So Oh, go ahead. I was going to say that
go ahead.
What you don't measure, you can improve. Data is everything.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here and I go back now. Let's go back to the operations part of those three things you said were important. I'm gonna give you a little story. Way back. This is way back before this was an issue. It's a non-issue today, but back when J&L Marketing only did direct mail. All right. Mm-hmm. There was this period of time where you used to be able to get data, let's say from Polk or whatever other sources that were out there. And you could get customers that owned specific vehicles. And then eventually that Shelbyville came along and it restricted the DMV information. And all of a sudden, all our competitors and us started gravitating towards credit lists because we were stupid in thinking that, wow, well, the dealers will be most excited about people that can actually buy. We'll target people who can buy and can get financed, and we'll do that. But the reality is it's a dumb thing because the message isn't necessarily relevant, because just because they can buy doesn't mean they're interested in what you're selling. And so we knew, because we did a good job tracking data, that when we would market to previous customers, and like I'm saying, this is commonplace today, but back then it was not, believe it or not. We knew that literally our response rates and sales would go up 3 times when we marketed to previous customers. A lot of the same reasons the referrals program is so important, because there's a trust. Someone that's already done business with you, there's a built-in trust. And when you're referred to someone, it improves the trust. There's more credibility, right, to it. But we still didn't, knowing that we were getting 3 times the return, our salespeople weren't selling it. And they weren't selling it because we didn't have, our operations were flawed at that time as it related to previous customers. It wasn't as easy. It wasn't as frictionless, to your point. our process was like, all right, order this Polk list or do whatever and do this and that. Well, if previous customers, it was unclear exactly what our sales team had to do, and it was a little bit clunkier. So we had a guy, instead of, you said something like, man, you throw stuff out there, you test, and then people just give up on an idea and throw it away. We had a guy in operations that was with us for 17 years. He used to have a saying for things like that. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. All right. And so we knew, all right, if our results were this good, we've got to focus on our operations. First things, we have to clearly identify the process, make it have a lot less friction in it. But then we have to train our salespeople on what that operational process is so they fully understood it and make it easy for them. And you know what? Once we did that, to your point, it's like all they sold. And it was so easy to outsell everybody and outperform other competitors because we were the only one doing it in mass. And it was like it was like fishing in a barrel. I mean, it was literally that easy. And so to your point, I don't want people to walk away from this conversation and dismiss the operations because it's not the sexy part of everything else you're talking about, right? It is critical, and you have made it very easy to get referrals, to get referred, and you've tackled all the pain points with it. And so I just want to make sure, I don't know if that story helped or not, but I thought it popped into my head, and I thought, well, heck, to me, it's the same thing.
Yeah, you're so spot on. I mean, you're right. Most companies always focus about how to go get new customers. And for some reason, we don't pay attention to the previous customers. And guess what? When I actually worked at Capital One and I was in charge of their tell a friend word of mouth programs, guess the best marketing spot for promoting a referral program was when people log out of their account. When they log out of their account, on the logout page, it had a tell a friend. And everybody in the marketing department kept fighting for that spot. Who's going to get to put their ad in there? Because we knew that existing customers are going to be our best advocates, are going to be our best repeat customers, the best lead generation, everything else. So you're totally
Another point to that. I love this because that's another avenue that people don't think about. When you're asking for referrals, you got to put that stuff everywhere. You can't just rely on your sales team, right? So what are all the different points of contact with clients that they're seeing where you're not asking for referrals and not making it easy for them to get engaged with that into that process? So do you have a plan for that as it relates to?
Yeah, actually we do. So what you're bringing up is actually a really important point about referral marketing. It's a fundamental company cultural shift. It's not just, saying that, yeah, of course we want referrals. It's about having sales, marketing, and operations all aligned and measuring on a weekly basis how many people do we recruit, how many people this, how many that, like all those important metrics that drives and grows a referral program. Everybody needs to be in alignment. Marketing needs to be promoting it, so you need to be asking your marketing team, besides doing Facebook ads targeting new customers, how much do we spend, or not even spend, just even organically posted on your social media? How many of our salespeople posted on their social media profiles? Did we include it in our emails? Like, let's say somebody just did a service and repair at a car dealership. They get an email, with their receipt. Did you put in their tell a friend message? Or like, let's say, for example, so going back to your question about what do we have a plan? Actually, one of the things that I've done for our customers is our marketing, the creative department, they actually build a bunch of different marketing assets, like a catalog of assets. So for example, if you work at a car dealership and you just sold a car, well, if a salesperson feels uncomfortable asking for a referral, don't just count on self. I mean, they should be, because they're in sales. They should be building their own pipeline. But if they're not, as a marketing team, you could actually hang on a rear view mirrors a hand tag that says, tell a friend, this is the offer, and here's scan a QR code, download our mobile app, or refer a friend, whatever the message is. So one is, the review mirror hangers.
So you'll have QR. You're basically saying QR codes for that. I mean, all those service customers that come in. I mean,
yes, exactly. And then you could also, let's say, for example, service or customer who just bought a car. You're handing them car keys. Attach to the car keys a key tag that says refer a friend.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many possibilities. Or let's say, for example, customers sitting in F&I office, waiting to formalize or signing their, car loan papers, or even in a service department, put a, sign in there with a QR code, tell a friend, next door neighbor, work bestie, introduce us, earn blah, 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 whatever the amount is. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to market the program without having to rely on salespeople. But as salespeople, so one of the things I actually did in our platform to get salespeople to be engaged is you could actually, as a referral, when you're creating an account, you could create an account using invitation code, and you could get a custom offer. And so in our platform, if you add your salespeople to it, each salesperson gets their own invitation code. So if the person signing up to become a referral uses their salesperson's invitation code, that means all the referral leads are going to be automatically assigned to that salesperson. So it's a way to encourage the salespeople to actually be engaged and tell their customers, because hey, then all the leads are going to be going to you instead of another salesperson at the company.
I love how you describe it as a cultural shift. I do think it's a mindset, and basically what you're saying is they need to look at any touch point, text, emails, in person, anytime there's is an opportunity, basically.
Yeah. Every time they're running a promotion, sending out an email to a customer or a direct mail to a customer, on their website, everywhere, like tell a friend. Did you know we have a tell a friend? Like what I'm seeing is that dealerships either don't have a referral program at all, or they have a piece of paper concept that I was telling you about, or they have a lead form that's buried somewhere that, God knows how many levels deep, and nobody even knows they have it. So, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what operations you have in place, and also what technology you're using. If nobody knows about your referral program, then it might as well not exist. You have to promote it. And this is why it is a cultural shift at the company. It's not just telling a marketing person, marketing manager, well, go build a referral program. It's not just salesperson saying ask for referrals. A salesperson should not be doing operations, making sure that referrals get paid. So you have to have a process. You have to have a formalized program where everybody knows their roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. So let me ask you this question. So let's just say I'm watching us and I'm like, you know what? I like what Lyman's saying. And I agree. It's a culture shift. They want to jump all in. They want to do it right. They want to fix the operational part of it. They want to have a formalized program. They want to have all these different touch points. So there's a lot of opportunities where clients can get engaged and enroll in the program, right? But they lack the data to fully feel confident on what a good offer would be. And so at the same time, we don't want them just sticking a little toe in there, testing the water to where it hurts them and they give up on it. So what advice would you give somebody, a company or a person out there that's using your tool in terms of creating really good, compelling offers?
Well, I always say, going back to what referral programs, generosity is not just kind, it's strategic. What the cool thing about, what I'm really passionate about, again, is back to data. When you're launching your first referral program, the key is to get how many people you recruited first to your program. So you could actually maybe your first early adopters, people are going to be your first referral partners, maybe overpay them a little bit, And with the Blabber platform, you can actually create unique offers by invitation codes. You can control who gets access to that offer versus other people. And so, I forgot the question because I just saw Kelly's message and now I got distracted. What was the question I was saying?
Well, like how do we determine what some offers need to be if I really lack the data? I don't know my lifetime value of my client, right? Or I don't know my true acquisition cost. So like what's a good starting point? I mean, I know we can test and then keep going, right? So
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to say what's a good starting point. So, for example, with B2B SaaS companies, if you have a recurring subscription model, I would do offers with a percentage of revenue, because that means the bigger the deal, the more the person's going to make. And of course, the more somebody makes, the more they're going to be excited to keep referring business to you all the time. With dealerships, they don't have necessarily recurring monthly revenue because it's not a subscription model.
yeah.
So, but again, dealers know how much they're spending in Google Ads. They might not have the correct number, but they know something.
Right.
So like even if we use the NADA numbers, I think NADA reports that average cost to acquire customer $700 or whatever it is.
That's
Like
right.
I would give my referral partners, if I own a dealership, $700, to refer business.
You know what NADA should do?
Huh? What?
If they want what NADA should do, if they're going to put out that number and say whatever it is, right? $700 for every new vehicle acquired or new client acquired, whatever it is. They should tell everybody on average, these are the things that go into that number. So everyone, there's some consistency to that, and you can compare apples to apples.
Yeah, I don't know that that number is actually accurate because
No, we're throwing numbers out right now, but I'm just saying.
But no, but I mean like the number that NADA publishes, I don't, because I'm sure they're probably getting the data from the dealerships, but the dealers probably mighting the number with organic traffic and a bunch of other stuff. They're actually don't really.
Well, that's my point. They should be looking at it and saying, all right, these were the things that were there needs to be consistency in terms of what people are putting into that number to determine. Right.
Yeah, I love that. And what the other interesting part is that a lot of times independent car dealers, used car dealerships will use that number for themselves as well. And it's completely inaccurate because franchise dealers, they have the halo of a brand, the OEM who spends millions, billions of dollars in TV advertising, all that other stuff, which, halo effect to the local level. But a used car dealership doesn't have that. And so, with a franchise dealership, let's say Ford dealership, they could bid on the Ford brand keywords and it's going to be cheap for them. But if you're a used car dealership bidding on the same keywords, you don't have Ford in your domain name. That means your quality score is going to be lower. That means your cost per click is going to be higher. So yeah, but to your question, how would I start? If I know, let's say NADA says $700, I will pay my referral partner $700 for every person they refer because that referral is more valuable to me than the lead I'm going to get from a Facebook ad. Even if the cost per acquisition, let's say, is going to be the same, I almost guarantee you that the average gross profit is going to be higher from a referral than it would be from a paid ad.
And the closing percentage will be higher too. So
closing percentage and the sales cycle. Because with the most important thing in sales is trust. When trust is high, speed goes up. And so if somebody is coming from a paid advertising, clicked on a Facebook ad, they don't trust you. They just know about your dealership, but they don't trust you. So your sales cycle might be, let's say, 90 days. But if somebody's in the market to buy a car and they were referred to you, the friends that I talk to who know me that I'm in the automotive industry, they always say, Lyamen, which dealership I should go buy a car? And they literally just go and buy. It's like, here you go. Here's what I want. Here's what my budget is. There's less haggling. So it's like the shorter sales cycle and higher profit. So I would pay at least that amount minimum for a referral partner.
So I was going to ask you, where do you think the future of referral marketing is going to go? I definitely think it's the technology to, like you say, eliminate all this friction, just make it easy for everybody involved, whether the business, the salesperson, the person doing the referring, the person receiving the referral. I mean, everybody, right? But like, what goes past that? Like, what's next for Blabber on that?
Well, I actually think the referral marketing is going to be even more important with the Gen Zs, because Gen Zs, they're all about brands that are authentic and natural, and that's why the user-generated content, the UGC is so huge, the TikToks and, content creators, because Gen Zs, they don't trust TV advertisements or, marketing, but they trust influencers. They trust the word of mouth from their friends. And, with Blabber, that's actually one of the key components in our platform is that when a person joins your referral program, they can actually create a video or take a photo with their car salesperson and say, they just bought a car, they put a bow on the car. And so when they're making the introduction, that video, that user-generated content or photo is automatically attached to all the introductions. So again, it's all about authenticity. It's all about natural, what people actually trust. And especially with AI world right now, the World Wide Web is saturated with content, but not even real people are producing it. And so word of mouth, I think, is going to be even more powerful and more critical to any success of the business.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Wow. I want to thank you. I mean, truly, shared a lot with us today. Some great, incredible insights. You gave us a lot of data. If I find it hard to believe anybody that's watching this, if they are not sold and energy and inspired to really commit, right, to improving the operations part, the offer part, and having a formalized program when it comes to referral. I have to question how good of a business person they are. I mean that. I mean that sincerely. I have always been a big proponent of, and you touched on it, of having not only referral, and Kelly brought it up too. Referrals is how I built my business tenfold. But I've always struggled with the operation and systemizing it, and you've made that easy for people. So I absolutely love it. To our audience, yeah, if you've, I hope that you've learned about referrals and how it can drive significant growth, the common challenges that you face with it. And I think most of us know some of those, but I think you brought up some things that they probably weren't thinking about. And listen, Blabber, all right, I hate selling on here, but I do think they owe it to themselves to look at this, all right, because what you've created here is, gosh, it's so easy and it's so smart, and I just absolutely love it. So what is the easiest way for them to connect with you and or find out more about Blabber?
Yeah, so our website is blabber.tech. So Blabber, Blabber. And I came up with the name because it's like a blabbermouth. People are talking, having conversations.
I love it.
My investor and I, we debated if that's a good name or not. I'm like, trust me, it's going to be a good one. We're all blabbers inside. So of course, our website, and then of course I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. And you could also email me. It's Lyamen@blabber.tech.
Well, and you've got a unique enough name that people are gonna, your name's gonna pop up pretty in the top. If people just search your name, you're gonna be right there as well.
Yeah, the only Lyamen Savy in the world.
Yeah, you're pretty active on social, so you're easy to find. So look her up. Look up Blabber, everybody. I have went through this program, and I'm telling you, it's awesome. And so I'm sitting here trying to systemize things for Me Plus Ultra, and with our affiliate stuff. And I remember saying, I said, ours is good, but man, so many holes. And it's like, I just want to do this. It's just so easy. So I got to connect you with my my person and figure out how to make that happen. So as always, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget also to visit meplusultra.com. All right. And register there, or not register, but subscribe to us there. Also on the Me Plus Ultra Network on YouTube, which is our YouTube channel. That way you stay up to date on any of our live episodes like we just did today, and some of our podcasts with Business Bourbon Cigars and other highlights and different things that we do. So till next time, everyone, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, God.
Thank you.